Hey guys, welcome to Small Space for Young Entrepreneurs. And I am sitting here with Annie Singer, the founder of Reciple. I hope I said that right.
Yep, you got it.
Great. So Annie is she's designed helped designed or built a program on her own that's helped people who write recipes and people that would love to use recipes without having to have ads. And I thought that was really cool. I wanted to sit down and talk to her because we have a great topic to talk about today, which is called bootstrapping. And I'm really excited to talk to her about that because she's founded her business totally on bootstrapping, which I was really excited about. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Hey, Annie, how you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. I started my day off with a little bitty cold, so we'll get through it. How old were you when you first started, when you decided you really want to start owning your own business or really getting into, doing your own thing?
Um, I am sort of a lifetime entrepreneur, honestly. This is my first big project that, I have hope that I'm going to see it through to the end, some sort of exit, building it up to the point where it's profitable, and, building a successful business, essentially. I've been doing various side hustles since I was, basically a kid. I, talked my parents into letting me mow the lawn for way more money than they should have given me for it. So I've always sort of taken initiative and wanted to do my own thing. I've spent time in corporate, I've worked for other people, and I actually just left hopefully my last ever corporate job in March of last year.
Mm-hmm. So what made you decide to want to start up Reciple?
I have never loved corporate, loved working for other people. The problem that I have is that I like to have a really big, broad picture of everything, or I don't feel like I can be effective. And so that's always sort of held me back. And in my last role, I was director of marketing for a pretty notable affiliate marketing, review website company. And they were acquired in December of 2020, I think, 2020. And that change was not positive for me. There was a lack of communication from higher management, all of these kinds of things. And so I said, it's time. I'm going to go out on my own. And I actually didn't leave to start Reciple. I left to start my own marketing consultancy, doing, consulting and contract work in marketing. Well, a month into that, I'm like, I still don't love this. I'm still not, where I should be, where I need to be. And sort of, March, April, May of last year is when I really took the plunge into Reciple. And it actually happened because, it's a problem that I've been thinking about for a long time. Online recipes have a terrible user experience. Anyone who cooks at home and has used online recipes knows the experience. You go search for the best chicken recipe for air fryer. You get to a food blog and an ad pops up, and there's 10 paragraphs of text interspersed with autoplay videos before you get to the instructions and the ingredients. And so what happened was, around March 2021, I saw a Twitter storm go down where someone had said, like a tech entrepreneur posted on Twitter, I've solved the food blog problem. I fixed food blogs. Here's a link to a scraper tool where you can put in the URL of any recipe and it'll return you with the ingredients and the directions, and it gets rid of the life story and all that junk you don't want. And, in concept, that's cool because it makes recipes easier to use, but there are human beings behind recipes. There are creators who put, 10 or 15 or 20 hours into each and every recipe post. And that completely cuts them out. And then, they are now have their work stolen and they're unable to earn an income from their hard work. And so that sort of seeing all of the backlash that went down from that inspired me to start Reciple, which is an ad-free recipe platform that's actually equitable for small creators.
Wow, that's awesome. So you and I were talking earlier this week, and we were talking about bootstrapping. I wanted to get into that really hardcore this week, especially for some of our younger guys who are just looking into starting their own business or have been in business, but they would really like to learn the ins and outs. So some of the abbreviations that we've had this week have been bootstrapping and VC, and there's a couple other ones out there that, as an entrepreneur, you can get into and you can learn. It's going to be a lot of studying time if you're going to try to learn that. So why don't we start off with the basic? What is bootstrapping and why has it helped your business so much?
Yeah, so bootstrapping is sort of just fundamentally like the financial operations where you are not accepting outside funding. You are funding this yourself. I am not a millionaire. And so, my budget to start a business is not extremely high. I'm not seeking outside loans from banks. I'm not seeking, venture funding, which is, investments from outside companies. It's just me, I worked a job previously. I hustle on the side, to make sure I can fund this, but it's really about sort of a lean operations. We call it the startup ramen diet. Not that I personally necessarily, I do eat ramen, but it's just in reference to, living lean, and your business is living lean, your marketing is living lean, your technology is living lean, because you're on, your self-funded budget, you're pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, basically.
As everybody knows, guys, my little pup is with us. She's making quite the talk today. So, do you prefer bootstrapping over finding or getting funded by, say, like angel investors and stuff like that?
So, I see a lot of value in bootstrapping, and for the foreseeable future, that's going to be my primary funding source. The only other funding really at this point that I'm considering in the immediate future is an accelerator program, which is a program for it's basically like a 12-week startup school, where, you're accepted into this program. It comes with some level of funding. And to me, I'm not going for the funding. I'm going for the mentorship, the networking, skills building, education, all of that kind of stuff. Other than that, I am running like sustainably in a lean way so that, my current budgeting, I can run indefinitely like this. And the benefit of not accepting outside funding, not accepting loans, obviously, is that I'm not, paying a monthly loan balance, and I'm not paying interest. So that's sort of why I'm opting away from small business loan type things. But then venture funding or angel funding, those come with other strings attached, because in exchange for the investment that they're making, you're giving them a percentage of your company, and that might be 2% or it might be 10%. You might be giving up board seats, so that you are not the final decision maker in all of the big decisions that you need to make. Now, that for me is a concern and a conflict of interest, maybe because profit is not my only goal in this business. Obviously, I want to be successful. I want to be able to pay myself a paycheck. But at the core of it, I want to build something sustainable that is a better option for creators, which means that I'm paying out 75% of my, monthly membership revenues. I'm paying that back to creators. And I'm starting some unique initiatives that you haven't seen in the creator economy space, is what we call it. And so bringing in investors blindly, just saying anyone who gives me money, I will give you a piece of this company pie. There's problems there, because oftentimes if you have the wrong investors, they're pushing for their own goals. And if they have decision making and voting power in big, fundamental decisions, if my goal more, or, in addition to profit, is, we're going to give up a small amount of profit in order to do better by creators and do better by our customers, you have to have investors that are like-minded and also have those same goals. And so I don't want, the company to get off course of our mission and our vision and blindly seek profit because we have the wrong investors behind us.
Now let's talk about teams when it comes out to this, because a lot of people don't understand the kind of teams that you have to put together when you are bootstrapping. And the common thought is, a lot of people say, well, the only way I can afford to pay my team is if we're taking outside venture capital, so to speak.
Yep.
And have you found that as harder to do as a bootstrapper to have the team that you're looking for? And are you explicitly looking for certain individuals that are doing certain projects for your application that are making you top dollar at this moment?
I'm sort of in learn mode more than accelerated growth mode. And I think that's important. That's an important phase of sort of any business. You're learning who your audience is, you're learning exactly what they need. I have my assumptions, I have my experiences. You can read about, in the industry what's going on, but ultimately you only know when you try. So I'm not going for explosive growth yet. Which does help me at this point manage my costs. Team wise, I have two partners in this business. They are not paid. So if you're going startup bootstrapping mode, having people willing to invest time, again, when you're asking people to invest their time and you don't have a paycheck for them, you're going to be giving up equity. So again, that means you need people who you trust heavily. You need people whose vision aligns with yours and whose ethics align with yours.
Mm.
Otherwise, again, you're giving up decision making abilities and you're giving up, potential gains in the future. And so you just have to make sure it's a really good fit. Other than that, I do tons of stuff by myself. I do lots of things that I'm very bad at. And as a small business owner, as a solopreneur, an entrepreneur who's bootstrapping, you're doing things that aren't in your wheelhouse that you're bad at. I am not an accountant, and yet I have to manage my bookkeeping. My background and specialty is in marketing, but I'm also leading product and doing customer service and replying to social media inquiries and all of these different things that I'm not good at. And in the long term, I don't want to do these things, but intimately knowing your business and knowing every moving part in your business, starting out doing everything that you realistically can, it's only going to help you know your business better, which again leads to long-term success. So I try, keep up with as much as I can. I outsource some, data entry type work to just data entry specialists. I've outsourced other sort of virtual assistant type tasks, just administrative stuff that may take a lot of my time and someone else can do it more effectively and efficiently. But other than that, I'm doing a lot myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a challenge. Like I said earlier this week when we were talking, that I sat in a couple videos, and one of them was for a 30 under 30 in Forbes. And as I told you earlier, she scares me. Her business was completely built. They actually own multi-billion dollar company right now that specializes in programs that help out nonprofit organizations. And her bottom line is easily 30 million on the bottom line. And you're like, oh my God, that's crazy from a company who started off bootstrapping.
Yep.
And I was listening to it, and the hardest part for me is the grasp of sweat equity. A lot of people don't understand that sweat equity becomes the hardest part about bootstrapping, because you're building a business right now that you're telling everybody's got a value, but the only value you get to measure is sweat equity. And do you feel at this moment in time that you can start putting a value to your program as it is right now?
Technical valuations would still be low for me because, we don't have 10,000 users. We don't have proprietary technology that's, trademark patented, nothing. We don't have, intellectual property rights over things. And so, we have a working product, but at this point, the value is still in the idea and in the community that we're building and the relationships that we're building. And relationships, I can say I've talked to 100 different creators. I've asked them lots of questions. I've documented data. I've collected data from them. I've talked to potential customers. What is the value to that? that's a lot harder to put a number to than saying, my revenue for 2021 was $30 million. Like that's an easier, when you have those types of numbers, it's easier to quantify the value of a business. And so while revenue is still low, these people who are 30 under 30 who bootstrap their businesses to be multi-million dollar businesses or billion-dollar businesses, they didn't do it in 1 year. They didn't, it's slow. It's not fun to be in that first or second year of bootstrapping a business, because it's not viral growth. It's not, just exponential. You see the chart going, and I'm doing it the wrong way because this has me mirrored. But we're not growing like that. We have 1 user today, we have 2 users tomorrow, we have 5 users in a month. It's those baby steps. And so you have to keep it in perspective. You have to have, small achievable goals that will get you where you need to go. But you have to understand, it's not going to be 10x this month. It's going to be, 1.5x. And then we're going to learn from that, improve it, and grow faster next month.
Cool. So, hey there. She's quite the talker today.
See, we want to see the dog is the problem with the background.
Yes, I'll tell you. Hey, Pookie. Okay. Hey, there's nobody there. I've got 2 of them, and they do as much talking as possible.
Yeah, that's why mine's away for the recording, because he will talk over me.
Okay. Well, come here. Come on. She wants to see you. Come here. Okay. How about we back it up? Come here. Up. You gonna come up here? Yeah? Oh no. So what do you feel has become your biggest accomplishment this year, just starting off your new business?
The rate that we're building our content library is pretty extraordinary. We're calling it a 2-sided marketplace. Basically, we have customers on one side. It's, business to consumer, but it's also business to business, because we have to build relationships with creators. And so we focused on relationship building with creators more than consumers at this point, because you can't add value, in the case of a recipe platform or recipe library, unless you have a whole bunch of recipes, because, asking people to pay for access to 20 recipes, it's just not going to work, because it doesn't have the value. And so we focused on accelerating our growth on the creator side, building strong relationships with more creators. We launched November 16th with about 350 recipes, knowing that we'd be scaling pretty quickly, but we needed some base of content. In December, we reached 1,100 recipes. So we almost 3x'd the number of recipes on our platform. And at this point, I have about 6,000 recipes in the backlog, that we're working through to upload to the website. And so hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have at least 2,500 recipes on there, again, doubling the content. And so, that's not revenue numbers that's, necessarily going to impress an investor, but that means that I'm adding value to my customers. And that's where I need to grow right now, is to add that value to my product, to improve my product, to ask for feedback from the users that I do have, to build the perfect product that people actually really want and need. And then once I've got to a level where the product is solid, I've got, the biggest library of content for anything similar. At that point, I can go into paid acquisition, post ads, spend money to be placed in a newsletter or on a newspaper or in an email. And that paid acquisition will pay off once I've perfected sort of this first iteration of the product and added a lot of value to users.
Oh, great. So I'm going to pause it for right now. Anybody who is watching, listening to us on our podcast, make sure that you reach out to us and watch us on our YouTube video to get the rest of this. We've got some behind footage scenes that we will be placing into this. But to keep on going with this conversation, because I want to make sure that all of our YouTube watchers that are watching this get the full input of what you've got going on. I was confronted by a client who came into my shop today, and we were talking about you because I like to rave and review about all the people that I'm doing on my podcast. And one of the questions he threw at me was this: he was like, "I love cooking, but let's talk to the statistics of it. How do they go through all of the recipes and check them out for reviews before they pull them in?"
So we have sort of an open model where our goal is to reduce the barriers as much as possible for creators to contribute content. So we don't have they don't have to have the culinary degree, they don't have to have 100,000 followers on Instagram. Um, we accept anyone who has written ingredients, written instructions, and custom photography of recipes that they personally have developed. So, will increase in value as we're building a more sophisticated content recommendation model, sort of like how Instagram and Facebook, they have your feed, your home feed. Your behavior online tells them what you're interested in, and they match you to content that people in your network have posted that sort of, they think that you will like and engage with. And so similarly, right now it's a lot just based on your own personal search. So I'm looking for a chicken air fryer recipe, it pulls up a recipe. It may not necessarily be the best recipe on the planet at this point, but we're working on developing it so that we have a smart engine that recommends, recipes that have high ratings and reviews on our platform, or recipes that, we algorithmically think that you will like because you liked this other recipe that is similar in these sorts of ways. So that's sort of a next step sort of thing where we can, in a more intelligent way, recommend the best recipe for you. A lot of platforms out there, recipe platforms right now, Food Network has an app that is sort of a paid subscription, not dissimilar from us, except that A, they still have ads on there. But B, they focus on celebrity chefs, celebrity personalities, really high end people where a celebrity chef's recipe is not necessarily any better than your grandma's recipe. And your grandma's recipe might be more accessible to most of the people cooking at home who don't have high end equipment and who, don't know, all of these technical, techniques and different methods that professional chefs might be recommending. So we are focusing on accessibility and focusing on, treasuring the small gems of people who aren't necessarily professional chefs or professional cooks, and just providing a variety so that everyone finds something that they're looking for. We do want those pro chefs, we do want those pro bloggers on our platform, but they're not going to be the only ones. We're also going to have, grandma who, has been making tacos her entire life and she's sharing her home recipe.
So your palette, as the way it looks right now, is it just showing the recipe itself, or have you inquired videos so that they can explain how to do the setup? Say I'm a very poor reader and I want to be able to see maybe a video that
Yeah.
explains to me how to do it. Does it show me video as well?
So this point, it is just written instructions, ingredients, notes to help you get it right, and lots of photos. We are in the process of actually building a custom web app, and that's sort of the next big step, version 2. I'm hoping we'll be able to release that within 3 months. So it's coming up super quickly. That's going to incorporate a spot for videos. Um, Again, it depends on the resources that each creator has included for, the recipes that they create. And so some will have videos when that creator has produced a video for it, and some won't because the creator hasn't produced the video for that.
Awesome. So what is the price annually for your piece? And if I was to remember correctly, the reason why we're choosing an annual fee for this is to keep the ads out of it. We could do a free version that has the ads.
So we don't offer a free version, but our content, you can find it on, the creator's independent blog. They all, 99% at this point of the recipes on our platform, if you don't want to pay, you can find them for free online. They're just going to have ads, they're going to have pop-ups, they're not going to have that optimized user experience. Then if you want to pay for a membership, we have two options. We have a monthly option that's $5 a month, unlimited access to ad-free recipes. This is how we pay creators. We pay the creators 75% of your monthly membership fee. Or there's the annual option, which is $50 a year. The benefit of doing annual is that you're saving, $10 off of what you would if you're paying monthly, but also we're offering a price for life guarantee. So, our library is 1,100 recipes right now. In a year, we're going to have at least 10,000 recipes. In 5 years, maybe we'll have 100,000 recipes. And just like Netflix, you see your membership bump up $2 every year or so. It gets more and more expensive. And so if you're signing up for our annual membership, you're never going to see the price increase, even as we develop custom mobile apps, custom web apps, develop it into a really unique, valuable platform. You're never going to see those price increases.
Well, that's awesome. Now, as you and I were discussing, I'm a thin guy now. I used to be a little chunky. I was a diabetic. I am a diabetic. And the question I have for you right now about your program is, say I have to find unique recipes that are to my unique eating habits. Can I really look into this and say, maybe click on diabetic recipes only, and it only shows up with diabetics?
So that's going to be coming soon. And the tricky thing about medical conditions, so diabetes, PCOS, those kinds of things, allergies, is that if creators are giving us the information, and if they get it wrong, if they say diabetic friendly recipe and it's a cake full of sugar and someone has an ill health effect, we could be liable for that. But we will be adding really specific categories. So if you want a low sugar recipe, or a low carb recipe, or we have lots of appliance specific recipes. So if you want air fryer because deep frying, you love French fries, you love fried food, but you want to cut back on the fat, we have a whole air fryer section, we have a crock pot section, all of those types of things. So you will, when it comes to medical conditions, because it's, it's so important. We have to be able to guarantee that it's diabetic friendly if we're putting diabetic friendly on it. It'll be easier to do low sugar recipes using those types of keywords. Our hope is to have, again, reach 100,000 recipes so that there is something, not just something, there's a huge variety of recipes that any individual, it doesn't matter your taste, it doesn't matter your, cultural background, your food preferences, your allergies, you're going to be able to find something that works well for you and that you love.
Well, you already got me sold on it. I don't know where I'm going to go for it now. Let's talk about future endeavors, about where you plan on going. Obviously, with you being a bootstrapper, your complications are going to be how fast you can move inside your business. And with technology these days growing so fast and so quickly, especially people that, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm one of those Googlers. Okay. And I have one of those cool little Googler units that sits right on my counter inside my house, right next to my kitchen sink. And when I go, okay, who, can you please tell me my next recipe? Do you find that cancels out yours by some chance?
We want to expand technologically. Right now, we're what startups call MVP mode, minimum viable product. It's not, we want to be the Netflix of recipes, but we're not the Netflix of recipes yet. We're draft 1. We're working hard on draft 2 that's going to be way better than draft 1. And so draft 3 and draft 4, there's tons of things that we plan on doing and that we want to do and that we know we can do. So draft 2 is going to be a custom web app. It's going to give us more flexibility in terms of awesome features that we can add. So one of these features is, how you're watching YouTube on your phone or you're watching Netflix on your phone, the screen doesn't time out after the 60 seconds, when normally when you're ignoring your phone, your screen times out and it goes to sleep. That's a pain in the ass when you're cooking a recipe on your phone, because you have dough on your fingers, you're sticky, or you have to constantly whisk something or else it's going to curdle, and your screen goes blank. That's a huge problem. So version 2, one of the notable features we're going to have is a keep awake feature, where probably a toggle. That's something we're working the specifics, and we're working on developing it right now. But you click the button and it makes it so that your screen stays on until you tell it not to stay on anymore. So just these custom features that regular websites and regular blogs haven't been able to develop yet. That's going to be sort of version 2. And then sort of looking into integrating with different softwares. So integrating with Google, integrating with Alexa, integrating with WordPress, so that food bloggers, a lot of them host, their technology they use WordPress. And so when they're inputting their recipe to their own blog, having an integration so that they press publish and it automatically sends it to our platform and publishes there as well. So again, we don't have millions of dollars in funding, so we're taking smaller steps than we would if we accepted $1 million in funding, and we're able to hire 6 engineers right off the bat. But we have plans to integrate with the popular technologies that are going to allow us to succeed, even as technology develops. And there are more convenient options because of voice, because of new devices, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I wanted to say that's pretty badass right there.
We're working
it takes a long time. I think a lot of people don't understand, like, this is, so I'll give you, for instance, my business is, we detail cars for a living. And when a lot of people originally started talking to me about detailing cars, it was real easy. We were mobile. We were going place to place. Having built my business bootstrap from the beginning was hard, because in that area 12 years ago, detailing wasn't like it is now. And now, people look at me and they say, well, you started from an S10 pickup truck and now you own your own building. And I'm like, yeah, that's the 15-year dream right there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I planned on this one 15 years ago to try to get myself into that. And I have a really good, solid mentorship. I've got a lot of people. So I always try to explain to people that if you are trying to grow, for example, whether it is VC or whether you're pulling finances from somewhere, angel financiers, or you are bootstrapping, try to always have yourself surrounded by a quality mentorship, because a lot of people, they want to try to do it themselves, but they don't realize what they're about to get themselves into. And then the studying takes you twice as long when you could easily get the questions answered for you by people that have been around much longer than you. So with that being said, I know that we're cutting it kind of short to our time right now. And I got to ask you the same question I ask all my podcasting friends out there. So what is your favorite book this year?
Oh man, that's a bad question for me because I'm terrible at names of books. So right now I'm reading The Cold Start Problem. And that's actually a nonfiction business book talking about networking effect, which is super relevant to my business, because we're talking about two-sided businesses. So this book is written by someone who worked at Uber. And with Uber, they have driver side and consumer side. And so it talks about building this type of business. For me, it's consumers and it's creators. And how do you create a network that becomes sustainable on its own? You have to reach a certain threshold of value to users, and then the users, again, I'm going backwards because it's mirror image. Yes. So my hand charts are going the wrong direction. You're seeing my decline. But when you reach a certain threshold of drivers in Uber and suddenly it takes 2 minutes to call your ride, it becomes much more convenient and valuable to users. And so the usership goes way up. And so the book is about sort of building these networks, network effect in startups and in sort of social tech type businesses. How to build it in a sustainable way where you see that sort of effect, where it's a true networking community.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to ask you my one and final question for today. And that is, where's your favorite place to eat?
Where's my favorite place to eat? You know, that's a hard one too, because I have moved like 5 times in the last 3 years or so. Um, right now, I'm in Racine, Wisconsin, but I'll say one of my favorite restaurants anywhere is Messenger Pizza in Nampa, Idaho, which is a town that only Idaho people will know. But they have pizzas that are like, I mean, 3 or 4 times the normal pizza size. Probably like 24 inches is their regular large, and then they have one size above that. Um, and that's a place that, in my early 20s, I would always go there for a $3 slice that ends up being like twice the size of your face.
Well, that sounds like one heck of a place to eat. Now, how far from Boise, Idaho are you?
Nampa, Idaho. So this pizza restaurant is just about half an hour drive from Boise, Idaho. But I'm currently in Wisconsin, so 1,500 miles away. I
Well,
I don't get to have my pizza slices now.
that is pretty far away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to drive.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being on our show, and with all the input. And I would love to bring you back into our fold again and talk about some other marketing ideas of how you've marketed before. Can you tell our podcasters and our YouTubers how they can reach you, what your website is, and how do we stay up to date with what you've got going on?
Yeah, so you can check out Reciple at reciple.com. We'll leave a link in the description, show notes, whatever you want to call it. And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well if you want to talk to me, if you want to chat entrepreneurship, if you have ideas for my business or you need ideas for your business. I'm always happy to chat on LinkedIn.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us. I look forward to seeing you or having you on our episodes again. And for all those that are watching and listening to us, thank you very much for being with us on Small Space for Young Entrepreneurs. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you guys again.